Hi everyone, welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, it's very exciting. It looks like there's a good chance that we might get a refresh for the Model X and Y. People have been speculating on it for ages. Considering the design is now 9 years old, it is looking somewhat out of date. Most manufacturers refresh their models every 5 years or so, and that's with a brand new shape and design. Firstly, in December, Elon Musk sent an email to employees announcing the Model S and X will be shut down for 18 days. They shut down from the 24th of December 2020 to January the 11th. The email only says the SX lines will be shut down and doesn't give any reasons for it. Then, on the 2nd of January, we had a tweet from Gally at Hyperchange, suggesting to Elon that maybe he is opening up the Model S Plaid much earlier with this new refresh. Gally then goes on to talk about the Model S refresh. Elon replies with a wink, implying perhaps something Gally presumed could likely be happening. Given these two events, makes me feel there is a strong chance Tesla will refresh the S and X. Bottom line, we know Tesla could make the S and X absolutely incredible these days and blow us away, but they've been too busy with their major selling models, Y and 3, has left them minimal time to upgrade the S and X. Sales are falling, and these two models have by far the most profit per sale. We've seen very little in the way of updates from the S and X. The biggest facelift was when Tesla removed the front black grille, for lack of a better word, and slight indentation on the side doors. Aside from that, it all looks very similar to what it did in 2012. It is affecting sales, for one, obviously because it looks dated, but two, as people are just expecting a new model and don't want to buy the old one if a new one's going to launch. The Osborne effect. Elon has said that Tesla will never do a full redesign, but there will just be facelifts. To be honest, the shape of the car is fairly neutral anyway, and almost a timeless shape. I think the looks can be improved though, with some minor tweaks to the exterior, whilst maintaining the previous shape. So I wouldn't expect the roof to be completely glass now, for example. Admittedly though, there are a lot of great concept drawings out there of how cool a totally new redesigned Model S could be, and they look great, but I think the shape is off-brand for Tesla, and will maintain the overall current shape. I hope they go with chrome delete on both the Model X and S, like they did on the Model Y. I actually think the biggest refreshes are going to happen on the inside. We're seeing real electric luxury cars enter the market now, like the new Lucid Air and Porsche Taycan. Although they won't be able to offer FSD, I think it's still some serious competition in the luxury segment. Tesla have had years without any competition, and were able to get away with what is a fairly standard interior compared to the other luxury cars at that price point. The quality standards of the S and X have been lacking too. The novelty of it just being electric is no longer worth the exorbitant price tag. Now we have much cheaper electric vehicles on the market. So what changes might we expect in the interior? I think the obvious thing is that the display will change. The screen will be more similar to the Model 3 and Y, a widescreen in the centre. I think the screen will be larger in the S and X than the 3 and Y. However, I could only speculate as to whether they would place a screen behind the steering wheel still. At a guess, I would expect them to remove it and make it more minimal. Too many screens can actually start to get a bit tacky, I think, like in some of the Chinese cars we see, like Li Autos. A lot of people disagree with me on this, but I think S and X would be part of the robotaxi network. I'd compare it to Uber. When you order a luxury vehicle and pay more for it, well, there is a market for luxury robotaxis. But then everyone says to me that no one would ever want to rent out their expensive luxury cars. But at the end of the day, it will simply come down to return on investment. So I would expect to see an internal camera in the cockpit of the car for this very reason. A widescreen in the centre is also more practical for when using FSD. They make some external tweaks to help improve FSD, incorporating what they've learned over the years as well. A lot of the features luxury cars have are just standard on all Teslas, because their technology is so good. But what about the more physical features? Well, they'd likely upgrade the sound system, more luxurious seating. They may possibly bring back the extra row of seating in the S. And it just has to have so much better build quality. There are plenty of luxury SUVs on the road today, like Rolls-Royce, Bentley, or even Lamborghini. These didn't exist when the Model X was launched. So Model X will need to try and keep up with the luxury players a bit more. We weren't expecting cars in production with Tesla's new 4680 battery until the Plaid, Roadster, Cybertruck, or Semi. But if they're refreshing the Model S now, wouldn't it make sense to also think about how to incorporate the new batteries? As we know for sure, they will be going into the Model S Plaid. But what if their battery run rate is up to a high enough level now that Tesla was able to make enough 4680 batteries to cover all Model S and X production? I mean, the Roadster, Semi, and Cybertruck won't be out until Giga Texas is complete. and then they will still have to ramp up after that. So in reality, other than Plaid, the 4680 batteries are not earmarked for anything major until towards the end of the year. Depending on what their current run rate is, they may be able to make enough. They only sold around 16,000 Model X's and S's in Q4 2020. That's not a lot. So possibly the batteries are at a high enough run rate now, and they want to surprise everyone. The Model X and S do have a lot more margin per car sold than a Cybertruck would, so perhaps it makes sense for Tesla to incorporate their new batteries in their flagship models. Think about how much better the performance and range would be whilst making the car lighter. So many consumers would covet these cars. On the other hand, perhaps they're able to use 4680 just in the Plaid model. If that's the case, then I would think that they would maybe use the 2170 batteries at least, as they still have an improvement from what they have now, lower cost, lighter, more performance and range. Due to these cars being so expensive, they're Tesla's most profitable car. They just happen to sell more than 5 times as many Model 3s as they do S's and X's combined. But if Tesla make 2 to 3 times as much profit on a sale of an S and X, then that puts it into perspective somewhat. In other words, although they make so many more Model 3s, it's possible S and X still make as much as half the profit of all the Model 3s do. So that's not nothing. And when you put it like that, then it probably does make sense to tune them up, reduce costs, and increase sales due to more efficiencies. I think the new models could increase sales back to where they were at their highest before, of around 30,000 a quarter. That would be a lot of extra profit coming in. I expect it's pretty obvious that they will introduce the new heat pump into the Model X and S as well. The heat pump runs so efficiently, it alone also improves performance and range. There really are a lot of great things Tesla could potentially add to these cars to make them amazing. As we have seen in the Model Y, Tesla have been finding great ways of reducing the parts required, and thus improving the manufacturing process and reducing the cost. I'm sure they will likely take up some of these new techniques too. Remember, Tesla have been making cars for 9 years now. They must have collected all sorts of ideas on ways to improve this car. Hopefully, they can cut down on cables too, like they did on the Model Y. If I recall, it was about a quarter the length of cabling they used compared to the Model 3. I do not expect them to start using the gigapress to build the Model X and Y though. A capital expenditure of this level is not feasible on a production rate so small. So what versions of the Model X and S will Tesla launch first? Well, we would assume all the old models are gone now. So if we take a look at the Tesla handbook, we reveal that when Tesla launch a new model, they start by selling the most expensive versions first. In this case, it would be the Plaid at around $140,000. However, I'm not sure the Plaid will come out first, as I'm not sure they're producing enough 4680 batteries for it yet, and it's not meant to be launched until later in 2021, unless Elon Musk is sandbagging that much, which I don't think. So let's go on with the assumption, which would imply that they just launched the performance model first. However, this is already an expensive car. It might possibly be a bit much to expect enough demand for just the performance model, possibly, but I think we will still see performance and long range launched together. So how will the models be priced? It would have to be more expensive than the old car, but will have more range too. So on a dollar per range basis, it would appear not that much more expensive. They will also launch it with a premium price tag first anyway. This will make people feel better who only just bought the old shape. It will also allow Tesla to receive a whole lot more margin. This car is not targeted at the masses and was never meant to be too cheap. So Tesla might start with the performance and long range models at maybe $10,000 more than they cost now. Then when Plaid is launched, it will replace the performance model, and Tesla might then introduce a standard range that then competes with the other competition once Tesla sales start to slow down. Anyway, I very much hope to see these models refreshed. They would debatably be the coolest cars on the planet if they do. Thanks for listening, please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.